we talk about the difference between informed compliance and informed consent. Informed compliance is, I'm going to put this IV in you now. Informed consent is, hey, we have this IV. This is what happens. This is how we place it. This is what it feels like. Do you have any questions? Do we have permission to put this in here? So that's informed consent. Information so my client can choose and then listen to my client's choice instead of we're doing this to you.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Grow Healthy Help People podcast, a podcast that Accordis puts on. We love talking to our nonprofit leaders and learning about all of the great things they're doing, the challenges they're facing, and just all the things that go with running a nonprofit today. So today I have Rebekah from the Tennessee Doulas Association. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. It's so good to have you. So tell us where you're calling from.
I'm actually located in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, wonderful. So before we get into the wonderful things that you guys are doing, because I know it's a lot, tell me a little bit about how you became a nonprofit leader. What was it like growing up? Is this kind of the path you saw yourself on, or did this just come out of left field? Is this something that you never expected in life?
Yeah, I think that's one of those I never expected in life part of it. I had totally different plans for my life, but I've watched kind of as life goes on. I'm a mom of 10 kids, and as I've gone through that experience, I just have realized how many disparities there are, how different education is, how different resources is, and it's surprising even going across the nation. And so I moved to Tennessee 20 years ago and jumped into the birth world as a doula, and there actually was already in existence a nonprofit. So I jumped into that one called the National Birth Network, and it was a subchapter of a national chapter. And so it was kind of interesting to give that a little bit of life and work through that. And it had its own challenges, but it was great to do rallies and a variety of things. And then the landscape changed. And so then I just kind of let that go by its side and moved into my private work, etc. And then probably about 6 years ago, I started seeing legislation start changing, and it all had to do with doula work. And I thought, okay, who's speaking for doulas? Like, we work and speak for our clients. Who's speaking for us? And I kept saying, hey, somebody needs to do this. Somebody needs to do this. And then I finally realized, oh, that somebody's me. Yeah, so that was how kind of I got into this. It wasn't a thing that I'd been like in a lot or knew a lot about, as much as it ended up knowing that I had to be the one to do it, and it's been a journey.
Oh, that's so awesome. I think so many nonprofit leaders like really started that way. Like they saw a problem and they kept thinking, somebody needs to do something about this. And then at some point it just hits you like, oh, it's gotta be me. I'm the one, I'm the someone.
Yes,
So
I really
that's
did
so
hope,
wonderful.
yeah, someone else get up and
Yes,
do it. And I even asked other people,
yes,
don't you really do it?
exactly.
And everybody's like, no. I thought,
No,
oh
I
man,
don't want to do it.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the organization. What do you guys do? How are you advocating for yourselves, really for doulas and for moms to be, and how what are you doing on a daily basis just to work with these moms?
Yeah, so we actually are a statewide organization. Think of it as that association idea that we're trying to gather in all the doulas. I kind of realized that we all do our work independently, and we're not meant to be islands. We're meant to be a community. And that takes an organization to kind of pull people in that way. And so we are statewide, and our focus is kind of twofold. One, we want to pick up our doulas and see where they are lacking in information. How can we further educate them? How can we bring them up to speed? How can we help them with their different challenges? And the second one is to help change the maternal and infant mortality rate. You might not know this, but Tennessee has fallen from the 47th out of 50 states to now we're 50 out of 50. So we have the worst maternal mortality rate. And Tennessee is very unique because we say it's a plate, and Kentucky is the Kentucky Fried Chicken sitting on the plate. So it's a long, skinny state, and it really is almost like three different states. The challenges on the west side with Memphis and some of the rural people are not the same as the challenges in the mid part of the state, which are not the same challenges as on the east part of the state. And even when you look at statistics, the east side of the state struggles with maternal mortality, while the west side of the state struggles with infant mortality. So very different struggles, very different disparities, and it just was kind of the idea that we need to pull everybody together and have some unity. And then through that time, we've also developed a unity to advocate for ourselves actually in legislation, because we're watching legislation being made about our profession and not by our profession. We're not the ones pushing the changes, which is very confusing to us. And even when we've gone to legislation to let them know we care, they have kind of pushed us back to say, well, this is what's best for you. So it has been an eye-opener as we're advocating for the moms that we serve, that as we're standing up to advocate for ourselves, that we're facing a similar situation, which is, we'll tell you what you need. You don't need to tell us what you need. You just sit back and be quiet. And we haven't liked that. So that has created kind of a several-fold mission, not that we're focused on legislation, but we're focused on allowing our profession to work in its organic state, to allow the doulas to have their right to work how they work and not to be mandated that they can or can't do that, because that's part of the doula magic, that they can work their specific field, their specific talents, even serving uniquely the way they serve, and not having this across the board, every doula can and every doula can't certain things. So it's been a great chance to recognize the issues across the state, to see how we can lean into it, but also speak up for ourselves legislatively.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's wonderful and so needed. So tell me, just so everybody kind of understands, because I know this can get confusing to people, what is the difference between a doula and a midwife?
Yes, we have those questions all the time. The simple answer is the doulas work from the waist up, the midwife works from the waist down. More complicated answer is we're not medically trained, generally speaking. So our scope of practice is not doing anything medical, not treating, not diagnosing, not prescribing, anything like that. So kind of like that best friend approach, but we're concerned with the whole mom. How's she doing emotionally? How's she doing physically? How's she doing in her social setting? How is she doing just navigating all this? Whereas the midwife's concern is physically. Is she physically well? Or the doctor's concern, is baby physically well? So we are a complement to that birth team. We're not a replacement. We're not trying to get rid of a care provider. We're not trying to outmaneuver them or outthink them. We're trying to complement. And what I say is fill in the gaps. We're the only people that see the full story. A doctor or midwife just sees a client every month and doesn't see the full story. We could even start walking their journey in infertility, and then join them through pregnancy, join them through losses, join them to caring to full term and delivering a baby, and follow them all the way through into postpartum. So we know our clients well. We know what's normal, what's not normal, and we can identify changes that are happening preemptively and be like, whoa, this is not my mama. We need to reach out and help. So we see things before the client even sees them, and then we can alert to get help or support in that. And so it's kind of a unique thing. We get to see the whole picture because we walk that whole time with our client, not just a segment of their experience.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. Yeah, that I learned a lot just then, because I've always kind of wondered, like, what is that there? And so that answers a lot of questions for even me. So that's why one reason I love doing this, because I learned so much. So, okay, we talked about some of your challenges with legislation and things, but when you go into hospitals, do you have pushback from hospital staff when you have to go into a hospital setting?
Yes, unfortunately. There are
Yeah.
times when it works out really collaboratively, but it is hard because we're kind of the uncontrolled factor, so to speak. We are not hospital staff, so we do not have to uphold the hospital policy. And we make sure our clients understand the 360 degrees of choices and that our clients are empowered to have that option. And so it does create conflict. I mean, difference of opinion does create conflict, but we're also working to resolve that conflict. How can we mediate here? I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to just facilitate a conversation that should have probably happened prenatally and didn't. Or as the landscape's changing, this conversation should happen, and let me help you do that. Unfortunately, many medical professionals are not trained in conflict resolution. They're trained in this is what we need to do, just accept it. We talk about the difference between informed compliance and informed consent. Informed compliance is I'm going to put this IV in you now. Informed consent is, hey, we have this IV. This is what happens. This is how we place it. This is what it feels like. Do you have any questions? Do we have permission to put this in here? So that's informed consent, information so my client can choose and then listen to my client's choice instead of we're doing this to you. So there is pushback that happens as our clients make choices and they get educated. And so it is interesting in this realm of just that kind of happening. We also have biases. If staff has worked with a doula who is not as well trained in conflict management and their past experience was negative, unfortunately, when I come in the room, I'm going to have to face the bias that just was built from that last doula experience. So I talk to my doulas about that sisterhood of not backing down, but recognizing we need to be professional and we can work this out as adults if we are willing to be humble and gentle, but firm and work out to a mediation point instead of a winning point. And so it is unfortunate, but we do face a lot of pushback, a lot of they don't like that they can't control us. They don't like that we present new ideas. The other fascinating thing, hospitals are 20 years behind the research because it takes 20 years to get that research into practice. Whereas as doulas, I'm reading the research, I'm reading what's current, and I implement it straight into the client. And so they are requesting things that are current that will, in 20 years, they'll look back and be like, wow, that was a great idea. But the hospital's slow to move in that realm. So as doulas, we speed up this whole transition faster, which can make people uncomfortable because the OBs, nurses, everything they're trained with information wise, they just kind of stay in that information. And so it gets outdated. And it could take 10, 20 years before the new generation of doctors or nurses comes on staff and has learned information. Whereas as doulas, we're always on top of it, always reading research, always getting new ideas. We're hearing across the nation and we're going, wow, look at that state. Look what they're doing. Let's implement that with our clients. And so we're not blinders on, narrow focus. We have a broader breadth in our view. And even internationally, looking at Denmark, Sweden, other countries who are doing birth well. Can we apply that here? And we help our clients apply those good principles.
Yeah, I love that. So, is there a for all the doulas to be able to know what they're looking for as far as like research and even you mentioned conflict management and conflict resolution, things like that. Are there resources for doulas specifically online, really geared towards doulas to be able to get that training and get those resources in one spot? Or do they kind of have to go searching for it on their own?
Generally speaking, doulas do across the nation look for it. That's part of our
Yeah.
association's focus is what do our doulas need? How can we create that for them? So we do have online
Yes.
classes that
Oh,
the
awesome.
doula can sign up to do a class, a video class at her own pace. We've also hosted for the last couple of years like mental health first aid training. Once again, virtual, but it's live virtual where we're taking
Yeah.
them through mental health first aid course to help bring them up to date in the challenges with mental health that our clientele are facing. So we're trying to bring them up to speed. If they're interested in learning, we're bringing the resources to them and gathering and researching what those are for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. So tell me, outside of the challenges that we've already talked about, let's look at just running a nonprofit in general. What challenges have you seen come up in doing this and running a nonprofit and keeping it afloat?
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Where do we start?
well, and it's such a unique time to be in with the funding challenges going on. It's hard to start a nonprofit to begin with because I have a vision and I have to get other people to have the same kind of vision and a board that supports that. That's hard to start out with and to keep that vision moving forward, especially when a lot of funding is being cut. And so that has been some of our greatest challenges of keeping interest. And without the funding to pay for people to work for us, it's really hard because I found something. Everybody likes to eat and pay their rent. So it's really hard to get for free. So that's been part of the challenges of just being able to have the funds as the society gets more expensive to live in. People aren't donating as much, so that is hard. And then just the climate of like how friendly are people towards doulas? Do they want to donate or be associated with? We've even seen that on the legislative hill as we've worked with different legislators who've said, you know, I believe in your cause, but I can't align with you. It's not politically good for me right now. It's like, oh my gosh. So it's the political side that's hard. It's getting people paid that's hard. And then it's also navigating so many things. We got an audit by the state, and the state was like, oh, why aren't you doing this and this? Didn't you know that? I was like, I don't know that. Like, I will say my biggest advocate is the Tennessee Nonprofit Network. They have been phenomenal. They're a national group, and then they have a local chapter or state chapter, and they have put on conferences that have been very helpful. They've put on retreats to help train us up. They've taught us about legislation. They've taught us about just resources. They have been like my nonprofit, if that makes sense. So they have been phenomenal help in answering questions and clarifying things, but it's just hard. It's hard to stumble along, I feel like, in the darkness and be like, oh, we're good. I have a great vision. They'd be like tripping over stones, like, oh, shoot, that wasn't what I thought it was. And then to have the state like, why aren't you doing it this way? And I was like, well, is it possible to do it another way? They're like, no, everyone has to do it this way. I was like, I wasn't in the club meeting. I didn't know. How was I to know? And it's like, well, all nonprofits. I was like, yeah. So there's so many things to learn. It's almost like I need a doula to help me out because I don't even know what to ask. I don't know what to look for. Like I filed everything federally and thought it was good. And then I found out, no, Tennessee, you can't solicit unless you filed this other special form. I didn't know that. It's just there's just a lot of learning curves, and even filing taxes. We did like an EZ form. I was like, sweet. And then I found out that that first form I could file the first year by myself, but the next year I now have to find someone who does file nonprofit taxes, which are few and far between, and then pay them a lot of money to do that. I was like, it's just so many learning curves. It's not easy, and it's makes me want to give up at times. And then some of our board members have gotten sick with cancer and everything. So it has been hard. We've had a lot of good blessings in the mix. I'm grateful for the work we've been able to do. But it does feel like an uphill battle. I'm still teaching people what a doula is, that we don't deliver babies, right? So just teaching people what we do. And then I'm also having to fight about funding, and also having to fight for board members, and also having to like keep the energy in the group. Let's go. Focus. Yes. And there are times that I'm like, I quit. But you know, I do it for the doulas to be helped. I do it for the moms to be supported. I do it for the state. This state needs unity. This state needs better education support to make changes. And it's going to take free thinkers and people who love this kind of work to make the changes, not people who look around and say someone should do that.
Yep, absolutely. And guys, if you're watching this and you're a nonprofit leader, going back to these challenges, we talk a lot about how hard it is to find funding, how hard it is to get donors, to get people to really support your mission. But what you were talking about, the state compliance, filing your 990s, things like that, those are all major challenges, and that is all something that Accordis can help you with. So we help you file those make sure you're up to date on your state compliance and you filed all the correct paperwork. We have a team that can do your 990s for you. And then on the funding side, we can help you with those campaign strategies and learn how to get more donors and get more focus on your vision and your mission, as well as so many other things. So if you're a nonprofit leader and you could use our services, please reach out. Our website will be at the end of this podcast episode, and we would love to talk to you. So tell me, because you have all these challenges you're facing, and people do resonate with what you're doing. There is so many women out there who love what you're doing, who they've either used a doula or plan on using a doula, and they don't want to see that disappear in the future. They want that to continue on and be able to receive those services. So how can people help you? Number one, on the financial side, where can they give to you? How can they donate? And number two, just overall in general, what can people do to make sure that doulas are able to continue doing what they're doing?
Yeah, that's great questions that we ponder on that all the time.
Yes.
I think one of it is we've really appreciated the support of the people who have seen our Instagram posts and our emails and have reached out to their legislators when the legislation was trying to turn us into a state licensing board. And that helped us to kill that bill. So I love the people who did that. So many people I knew and didn't know that made their voice be heard along us. So that showed support, and I appreciate that so much. Our other thing is that we've had different people support us by, one, educating the community about the difference between a doula and a midwife and a doctor.
Yes.
That is so helpful to us. The second
Yeah.
thing is to help support us by asking to, even their insurance, like insurance, you thought about supporting to have a doula for me. What's happening with that insurance wise? Because
Okay.
insurance will shift depending on the demand of the people. And then
Okay.
another idea that's been helpful too is for people that have given donations to either help fund a doula in training, to help fund a mom to get a doula, or to help get doula tools for a doula who started out. So there are
Yeah.
3 different ways that people have funded in the past to help kind of move along our work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, if you resonate with this, if this is something you're passionate about, please go visit their website. We're going to have it linked at the end of the show episode as well. But as she was saying, like as a nonprofit leader, they cannot do these things alone. It truly takes a village and a community of support to move the needle and to push things forward and to make things happen. And so please go figure out how you can support the Tennessee Doulas Association. Figure out a way that you can give. Look into your state, see what they're saying about doulas, educate yourself. That's the most important thing you can do. And if you have any questions, please reach out to them. Check out their social media pages. I know they would love to have your support. Rebekah, it has been so amazing talking to you and learning so many new things today. Thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It just warms my heart to see that people are interested and that people want to share, because it's that hand-holding community that will make our world a better place.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next.